Glory to Ukraine, glory to brave Ukrainian army. We will definitely win. Ukraine stands, Ukraine's fighting for the whole democratic world. Today I will show you some rose beauties, rose varieties, which now blooming in my garden. And because I have named my channel Rose Garden Ukraine, although I do plant and I have a lot of other plants except roses, but to correspond with the name of my channel, I will show you and proceed to show you my roses which are currently blooming. This is Snow Owl or Schnee Oil. This is hybrid rosa, and I think it's bred by Cordes, most probably because I know that Cordes breeder it bred pretty good number of rosas hybrids for us. Also, I know that some hybrid rosas are from Canadian selection. So yeah, I have both of them. So this one is snow white. In color, it has yellow stamens in the middle, and it has pretty noticeable fragrance. I would not say that it is very strong or very intense. Of course, when you smell it, you will feel it pretty strongly, but it does not have wave, and I say that I expected it to be much more fragrant. It is susceptible to disease, susceptible to different insects, and yeah, for me it's time to apply some biological insecticide against these small insects, because they will damage a lot of my flowers and flowers of rose varieties. Bush itself, it's pretty big, pretty not huge, but it pretend to be huge, and I think in maybe 3-5 years it will be much more bigger. It is very thorny, as most of hybrid roses, so it's not possible to cut these flowers into vase, but just to look at their beauty. After or behind this one, it is Wollerton Hall, one of my favorite varieties. This is from David Austin Roses, Great Britain breeder, one of the most famous, I think, in the world, and most popular here in Ukraine. This varieties of roses from this breeder is pretty popular, and we have a lot of them. Even in my garden I do have maybe 50 of them. I need to count, but many of them definitely, and a couple of them I have tried and gave them further because they were not so good in my garden according to my expectations or conditions I set to them. Why I love this one, Wollerton Old Hall, because of its interesting fragrance. It's not usual for roses. It's pretty noticeable. It's pretty good felt, strong one, but it is not fruity, it's not sweet, it's unusual, maybe some spicy with some clove notes and other maybe myrrh, not sure what exactly notes are there, but it's extraordinary for roses. And out of my 200 and plus varieties, this one is the most unusual. In addition, flowers are also very nice. They are not damaged by humid weather, by long-lasting humidity. They are not damaged by the sunshine or sun exposure. And the bush itself is doing good. It's pretty fast growing, pretty quickly growing, and it has pretty wide and high measures, pretty wide and pretty high. Flowers are globular. They are not so so tightly, petals are not so tightly placed, so they are pretty freely in the flowers, but yeah, very nice one. And I must admit that color is pretty changing. It starts, and as you can see, it's with some apricot shades, but then color could be creamy white or creamy light apricot, something like that, and I think I will show you this in future. This bush is only starting to bloom, and there will be much more. Carolyn Knight, one more David Austin roses varieties in my garden, and one of my favorite because of its fragrance. Its fragrance is something divine. Something unusual, and it's so sweet, it's so candy like, and you see this this beetle, but it damages petals of the fragrant flowers, and this rose is one of the most fragrant roses in my garden, and I love this fragrance because it's not usual. It's not usual, not the same way as Wollerton Old Hall, but among all roses I have, it's with some notes of some candies, I say it, and call this candy-like fragrant. Interesting. Who has this variety? How would you characterize this fragrance? Because yeah, I characterize this as caramel, candy, etc., and would be interesting to hear your thoughts and your characteristics of this fragrance. Bush pretty big. I try to cut it. I have tried different approaches while cutting it during early spring. And in all the approaches, this bush still pretty high, pretty big. It could easily reach 170 centimeters high, but at the same time, it's not very generous. So I, of course, would expect much more generosity from such measures of this bush. It will be blooming, and it is blooming, but not so generously and full. Is not fully covered with flowers as I would expect it to be. At the beginning, as you can see, flowers color, it's pretty intense orange, deep apricot, but then it became more lighter and lighter and lighter, and will end in this shade, or maybe I will show you here, still in gas, so sorry for this gas on the background. It ends in this and even lighter. Still very nice, but I would prefer much more intense, of course. And while you will be looking at this beauty, and of course I will show you more, but I have to say, as usual, that Saturday recently, 25th of May, Russian terrorists, they attacked one of the biggest hypermarket mall in Kharkiv, and killed, as of now it's declared that they killed 18 people, 5 are still not found, and 48 wounded with different levels of injuries. These Russian, they are cynical killers, cynical terrorists, because they have struck, as always. They selected Saturday. This is the day when we have most of the people, many people have weekend. And we visit city malls, we visit some places where buy foods, buy different things for decoration, renovation, etc., etc. And they knew about this, of course, and struck in the middle of the day. It was very hot weather, so people, they just go out of home to make their things, which they usually do on their weekend. And there were, of course, kids, and among killed people there are mother and her daughter, 12 years old toddler or kid. So yeah, they are as always cynical killers, but terrorists are terrorists. They are not to be expected different. And the world, and not all countries, thanks to many countries which already allowed to strike by their weapons on the territory of Russia, but not just territory of Russia, but strike the army objects and objects which help Russian army to produce weapon, etc., and to attack us. So yeah, but most countries still do not allow us to do this. But in opposite, Russian, they freely could strike every city, every building in the middle of the day, in the middle of the night. They freely crossed the border, killed thousands of people already, civilian people, already damaged a lot of buildings already. And yeah, for that part of the democratic countries, looks like this is okay, because yeah, this is allowed for Russians. But for us, this is not allowed to strike and to defend ourselves in the way we assume the best. Yeah, let's proceed with beauties, because I have more. This is distant drums, and this is only starting. I have planted it because I have seen it in the neighboring garden, and I have liked this color, this palette. It will be very interesting, and of course I will show you when it will open. And now let's go to Lea Mege. This is also one of my favorite varieties. This is shrub from Dominique Masora, if I'm not mistaken, but this is something from France. Definitely it's very fragrant, very, very nicely and deeply colored. You can see color is transferred by my camera very, very closely and precisely, so you could imagine how beautiful it is. Of course, it depends on the taste and on your preferences, but I love this color in roses. So yeah, for me it's very nice, very pretty and very interesting one. And in combination with its fragrance, very intense, very deep, very strong, very fruity, sweet one, it shows and makes very good characteristics and arguments while selecting this variety to plant it or not. The only my note to this variety will be that you can see that branches, they are very widespreading. Here we have one, there we have another. So to measure this distance between these branches, it will be more than meter. But of course, if this bush to make it more compact, it will be much more neat, I would say. So I will need to provide some support for those branches not to lay down on the ground. So yeah, flower, I would not say that it is pretty long lasting. It will be not in single day, not 2 days, but up to 5 days, maybe even up to the week. But it depends on the weather conditions. And this is exclusive variety, very interesting and very not often shown in our garden, because it was bred. This is Ukrainian bred. It was bred by one of our rose gardens, rose breeders. This is called Solomiia, and Solomiia, one of the most popular names of girls here in Ukraine. And maybe you have heard Solomiia Krushelnicka. It's a world popular singer from Ukraine. I think most of you or many of you already heard this name, and you could even search YouTube and listen how prominent singer was. She was. Solomiia, first year in my garden and first year in other Ukrainian gardens, because this variety is very new, pretty new. This is maybe its second year only on our territory, in our garden, because it was bred in Ukraine. For now I am among first lucky rose gardens which who planted this beauty and already see this one and show even this to you. Very tender white, closer to the middle it became peachy white, light peach, and very interesting form of the flowers, petals, they are quartered, the center is quartered, very interesting variety. And it will be pretty prominently and very perfectly combined. It could be combined, and it is combined with Lea Mege according to colors combination, and with another variety, Masora. Masora, this is Japanese bread variety. I'm not sure whether Japanese variety is as popular as in your country as in our, but here in Ukraine we planting Japanese varieties more and more, and I know that they breed and breed usually and continuously, and there are much more varieties to buy and to plant, of course, and I have bought this one because of its fragrance. Its fragrance is fantastic. I must admit it's pretty strong, pretty fruity and sweet, and very, very, very good felt, very intense. I even will break my rules because I do not practice, I do not usually cut flowers for myself. I would prefer to see them on the bush in the garden and to give them time to grow and bloom for as long as they could. But from this year I decided to also bring some pleasure to myself, and for this I would cut not of course the whole bush, especially this one. This is its first year in my garden, first season, first blooming, but I would cut for myself at least one flower of such type. Some fragrant varieties like this one, like Rose de Recht, like William Shakespeare 2000, and Carolyn Knight, and some others. And this one, this will be, I assume that this will be one of my top 10 fragrant, etc., etc., one of the famous varieties for myself. In addition to its fantastic fragrance, it has fantastic color, I would say. It's very interesting. It's hard to describe it even in Ukrainian for me, and not to say in English. It's a combination of some shades of apricot, apricot coral, apricot salmon. Very hard to describe, yeah, really. And from the inner part of the petals, it is you can spot some yellow, but here you will not spot, yeah, maybe on the outer petals, but in general flower has pretty solid color, and this color is also very, very nice, and it will greatly combine with Solomiia variety, because Solomiia variety, it has this middle part of the flower, it is pretty light apricot peach, and that apricot peach will of course perfectly combine with this Masora color. And as you can see, this bush, this is first season, first blooming, and you see that it is not so small, it's pretty good one. Then I would show you a couple more, at least this one, Ilios. This is Floribunda, and I think most of you, or many of you, knows about Ilios hybrid tea in yellow color, but this one, it is described on Help Me Find resource. You can find it there, and you will see that there is description about this variety. It is Floribunda, it is found by unknown, and it is found most probably in Netherlands. It is growing for the third maybe year already in my garden. It's susceptible to disease. I see some signs of some new disease. I most probably do know how it is called in Ukrainian, but I do know how it's called in English. Yeah, and it shows very nice color. Color is very interesting, deep beetroot with some, of course, deep violet beetroot with some maybe raspberry shades, and it is very, very intensely fragrant. and pretty big flower. Flower will not be long lasting. Flower, yeah, you see how beetles love the flowers of fragrant flowers of such type. They damage the buds, and of course flowers will be damaged as a result much more. It grows in clusters, cluster not so big, pretty small one, 3 to 5 flowers, and still it's very interesting. It became more lighter during the blooming, during the flower life, but still interesting, and it has very interesting form of the flower. Maybe I will quickly demonstrate it. Among my roses, it's a pretty original one, pretty unique one, form of the flower, I mean. Yeah, and maybe I will show you one more beauty, and will be finishing till the next time. This is I will show you from far first. This is Souvenir de Docteur Jamain. This is all rose, once blooming, and it's very fragrant, and it's very deep, also pink, not pinky, but yeah, with some, not pink maybe, but raspberry shades. Also hard to describe this color, because each flower it also has its shade, and it's depending on the day of the blooming, whether this is the first day or second or fifth, etc., because it's pretty long lasting. Flowers could stay at the bush even 5 or 7 days, and it is this bush, it has some shade from pine, and I have planted it specially under the pine because I have read prior to buying this variety, planting this variety, I have read that it prefers at least some shady, or at least some light shady area. So I have planted this in this area, and horizontal it, so cold, not so cold, but I have tried to replicate C.C. Hurst method of forming rose bushes, especially this method works great, especially for once blooming varieties, and I have tried this, and this was a very good decision, very good choice, and it of course gave me a lot more flowers in comparison if I would left it as it is. And if I would left it, it just could grow me some long branches and ending with one single flowers at the end. But instead I do have now flowers throughout all the lengths of the branches. So yeah, this is a very good choice, and please take this into account for your varieties, especially for once blooming, because for such type of roses, such varieties, we want them to show us as many flowers as they could. So thanks for your listening, thanks for your attention, thanks for all the words of support you are leaving on my channel, under my videos, and of course much more appreciated any support to Ukraine in this unprovoked, non-provoked war for the democracy and for the existing of our nation and our country. Till the next video, and bye.